Fantastic. Okay, cool. So, and then along with that, we got a question from our YouTube chat, Delorca, and all I see is your screen name. So if this isn't your name, you know who you are, right? The question about is it the same as tongue root distortion? And we've got a Tony Link in there as well, who also knows a lot about this stuff, saying
Epiglottis.
yes,
Yeah.
the tongue root pushes the
Yes.
epiglottis towards the arytenoids, and that gives the blues
Yes.
growl sound.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. You
Correct.
really, really easy, direct answer. So maybe, Delorca, you got your answer right with that. If you want us to elaborate on that, we can. But I
Oh,
think it's interesting because not a lot of people and singers that may be listening right now are really familiar with what the heck is the tongue root, right? Can you
yes.
elaborate on the shape of the tongue and what people are
Oh
talking
my
about
goodness.
and how that
Yeah.
interacts?
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, lovely people, your tongue is a gigantic muscle. Okay? So the part of your tongue that you can see and that you can do weird things with, like this, that part is not much. Everything underneath, all that is just this ginormous bulk of muscle. It's basically all the lower half of your face is your tongue. So we're talking about a huge, huge, huge muscle, and it gets a little bit confusing in the following sense. So in phonetics, they divide the tongue. If we use my hand as the tongue, and this is the tip, standard voice teacher, like, oh, this is the tongue. This would be the tip. Then you'd have the blade. Then you'd have the front of the tongue, just to confuse all of us. So around where a normal person would say, this is close to the middle of my tongue, that's the front. Then the back of your tongue is the back, and then the part that you can't see is the root of your tongue. So I will do the following lovely thing. Here is a larynx. Just randomly flashing people with larynxes. And if I have you here, and this is you in profile, and this little peak right here is your Adam's apple, your tongue is like that. And one of the muscles on your tongue is your hyoglossus. Hyo meaning from your hyoid bone, which is this thing right here, into the glossa, your tongue. What means tongue in Greek? Yay! And your tongue is just sitting right there. So it sits exactly there. Notice the back of my hand is touching the epiglottis. And then what you do is you tense the little root hair and you go, ha ha, and you knock the epiglottis. And you basically nudge it and it goes flappy, flappy, flappy in the wind. It's like the weirdest summary, but that's pretty much what's happening.
Yeah, thank you. That's fantastic. It's true. The tongue is a very complex, important, massive muscle. And what I like to think of it as the blob, the old horror film, the blob, because the amazing thing about the tongue is it can move in multiple directions at the same time. I mean, if you imagine, the sci-fi movies where, the top of your head kind of goes this way, but so the tongue, in three-dimensional, that's why it's actually a great little thing here with the hand, because you've got the base, the root of the tongue, that's right there. It can push on the epiglottis and make it go flappy. I love the way you say flappy. And then you've got the rest of it, the front part, that can do those weird shapes and move up and down really quickly. So a lot of singers struggle with tongue tension, and because I'm tired of people with hung up on I can't sing because I have this tension issue. I talk a lot about in my online course about let's go with the opposite. We need to train what I call dynamic movement potential. It's basically mobility. And if you have a quick, flexible tongue that you've trained to be flexible, guess what will never happen? Tension,
Yeah.
because you've actually worked the opposite. And that's really the coordination we want to build. So thank you. That's an excellent question, Delorca. And thank you for that answer, Aliki.